It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And before we get into episode number 7 of season 3, got a few things I got to talk to you about. If you haven't checked out our official merch sponsor, Grind Clothing Co., make sure to do so. Click the link in the description below or in our YouTube bio. That link will shoot you to their website where you can check out a plethora of different design options. If you are new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, we're getting close to the new year. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, anything you believe in, just happy. Hope you guys are having a great time with your family. And as Pistons fans, we've been getting some presents from the Detroit Pistons that are on a 3-game winning streak right now. Beat the Suns, beat the Lakers, and beat the Kings. And right now, me and Ryan are just going to kind of take some time to talk about, are the Pistons legit? Is Cade Cunningham planning to have a great rest of the year? Or what players are kind of standing out so far in this season as we're closely getting to the middle mark of the season? And like, what shows evident when the Pistons are winning? Is it rebounding? Is it the assist column? Is it a specific player and Cade that are really standing out? We're just going to take some time to talk about that. And Ryan, most recently, we were playing Fortnite while it was going down, watching it on the side. Jaden Ivey, 3-point and 4-point play eventually to beat the Kings. 3 seconds left. De'Aaron Fox throws up a half-court shot and airballs it. But Ryan, these wins against the Suns, Lakers, and Kings, these are big statement wins, and it especially seemed evident against the Kings, a young kind of in their prime team, and to be able to beat them in the last seconds really feels like the Pistons are competing with these top echelon Western Conference teams, and that just feels start getting some confidence as a Pistons fan of like, okay, maybe I can believe in this team and maybe they are legit. Ryan, what are some of your thoughts with those games and if the Pistons are legit?
So you look back at the last couple of years on Eastern Conference teams playing against Western Conference teams, and the conversation was always that the West was better, they were always going to kick the crap out of the East because the East, there's like no competition at all. There's more competition now in the East than there ever has been the last couple of years. But I mean, the West is still better than the East. I truly do believe that. Just from the star-studded talent, like just you look at the landscape, you got LeBron, you have Anthony Davis, which I'm not a huge fan of, but he's good. There's a slew of different guys out there. And yes, I just named 2 Lakers, but the point remains the West is, I do think it is better than the East, but I think the East is on the come up because you have the Magic. Obviously, they lost Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, and then most recently Mo Wagner to long-term injuries. So that hurts their team. But Cole Anthony is stepping up and is playing like a beast. But the point of the Pistons playing against Western Conference teams, it goes into that same conversation of the West is always better than the East. Because anytime the Pistons play anybody, it's kind of like you have that eerie feeling that, yeah, we're going to lose that game. Like, we're not going to win. We're just going to either lose badly or we're going to have the lead and just choke. It's going to be one of the two things, and that's going to be the end result. It's never going to result in, oh, we're going to hit a clutch shot and win the game. No, that's never the case. But that's happened 3 games in a row where it wasn't necessarily a clutch shot, but it was a clutch play. So you look back at the Suns, Cade goes down and hits a 3 in Kevin Durant's face. Like, Kevin Durant was all over him. He's 7 foot. He's all over him. Cade hits that 3 in his face. That's a clutch play. Go back to the Lakers. A slew of different guys stepped up in crunch time to pull that game out and win. And then the Kings, Jaden Ivey. I mean, it wasn't even just Jaden Ivey. You had Malik Beasley, you had Cade Cunningham, but Jaden Ivey at the end that hit obviously the shot that results in a 4-point play. But like, just those 3 guys, it's like we have a 3-headed monster right now. We have the Monstars on our team of Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Malik Beasley. Totally. And the craziest thing of it all is you look back at last year and how the season started. Jaden Ivey was coming off the bench because Killian Hayes was better than him. At least that's what Monty Williams believed. And well, it's evident he was wrong. We knew he was wrong, but the point remains. But yeah, Jaden Ivey has been a beast. And honestly, his stats aren't crazy. Like he had 19 points last night. And it's not like that's like, whoa, Jaden Ivey, where did this come from? It's more of like okay, Jaden Ivey, that was a good game. It's not like that's an impressive number, but when you think of what he did to contribute to that win, you look at that box score again for him, and you're like, wow, Jaden Ivey, that was a good game. And so the three-headed monster of Cade, Jaden Ivey, and then Malik Beasley, like just those three alone, like Cade had what, 33 and 10, Ivey had 19, and then Malik Beasley off the bench, 22. Like that's pretty darn good. And so I think there can be a case to be said that we can compete with just about anyone right now. Obviously, we're going to have an off night here and there, but I will definitely take this 3-game West Coast streak that we are on. Hopefully, we can continue that tomorrow night against, well, as when this comes out, tonight against the Nuggets, because that would be a huge statement win, just 4 in a row against not even the 4 worst West Coast teams, like 4 of the best West Coast teams. So, well, Denver's not on the West Coast, but you know what I mean. The point remains, I think if we can get those 4 wins, like that'll be huge, and those will all be statement wins.
So I tend to think the Pistons are legit right now. They're sitting at 9th in the Eastern Conference. But the other thing is too that the Pistons always have one of the toughest schedules in the league, to go from Suns, Lakers, and then to Kings, and then into the Denver Nuggets, and then the Orlando Magic, like you said, are injured, but still some talent there. That's a tough 6-game schedule that you're like, wow, that's just an absolute gauntlet. And for the Pistons to go 3-0 so far is just terrific. I want to point out 5 reasons the Detroit Pistons have turned things around and have already matched their wins in the total of 82 games last season and 14 just in December. So they have increased scoring output. The Pistons are averaging 111, really 112 points per game, ranking 17th in the league per Basketball Reference. So that means the Pistons are putting up buckets, and it's in a big way. They're not seeing as many cold stretches as we have seen in past seasons. Rebounding strength. The team averages 41.4 rebounds per game. That is 12th in the NBA. So they are in the top echelon of getting big time boards. And a big help in that is Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, on top of the guys we had last season in Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren. Another thing why the Pistons have improved this season is balanced scoring distribution. The Pistons have multiple players contributing significantly to the scoring load. So adding Malik Beasley, who put on 22 points last night against the Kings. And he's just a guy that, is like, okay, whatever you give us, you give us. And right now he's playing at an all-time high level and just playing absolutely great. Another reason they gotten better, improved defensive metrics. Detroit allows 115 points per game, ranking 20th in the league. So kind of on the low end right there, but it's not the worst. The other thing, the 5th thing of why the Pistons are improving this season is competitive performance in close games. So like exactly what we saw against the Kings. Pistons kind of falling short throughout the game. Kings kind of leading in the 4th quarter. In the final minutes, they put up big plays in big moments and get those defensive stops. And they've been doing it over and over and over again once they get the chance to amount those type of comebacks. And so it's kind of a big deal when you're battling Sacramento Kings team that has a great culture, and then you finally, are able to upset them in the final minutes. And Ryan, it seems to me like the Pistons kind of have that clutch gene, and they've been proving it over and over again this season.
Yeah. So what to me this means is, so last year, and we always like going back to last year, but last year, one of our biggest comments was that Monty Williams and Troy Weaver were not creating a culture. They weren't creating a foundation of what this team actually revolves around. There was no character at all. There was like just a bunch of mismatched players. It was like the land of misfit toys, Christmas reference. Nothing actually fit together. But this year, and I think it all comes down to culture because you look at the guys, the culture was set by Trajan Langdon. The culture was set with JB Bickerstaff on what they're wanting to do. And it's none of the restore stuff. That crap that Monty Williams and all of them were trying to put out. We weren't trying to restore the Pistons. That wasn't the thing. It's
Propaganda.
not been the thing. Yeah, it was propaganda. You're right. But no, what JB Bickerstaff and Langdon have done in just a short period of time is, well, first off, and you go back to even the process of Langdon choosing his next head coach. Langdon didn't go after the coaching search right away. He was going after, okay, what guys am I going to take in this draft? What guys am I going to try and sign in free agency? Then he signed his coach. Then within that whole process of signing Bickerstaff, he still wasn't even putting the draft and all the other stuff going around. He put all that stuff on hold. It was still going on the side, but he was mainly focusing on JB, having those conversations like, okay, what's next? What do we need to do? What players do we need to bring in? Just a bunch of that stuff. And that was creating the foundation of what the culture was going to be set at. And every single player that they brought in were handpicked guys that Langdon and Bickerstaff were like, okay, these guys are going to fit this system and create this culture that we're wanting to create. Tobias Harris loves Detroit. He's always loved Detroit. He's one of those guys that they were sitting there going, probably like, okay, he has to come in because he not only was here when a couple of years back when this team was not great, but not good at the same time. He understands how to play in Detroit. He understands how to play Detroit basketball. Like, why not bring a guy that has that experience? Malik Beasley has experience from a slew of different teams, but he's actually that good. He's just one of those good role players, but he's not just a good role player. He's a great role player. He can look for his shot. He doesn't rely on others to do his thing. And so you go after all these guys and create and establish that culture from the get-go. And here we are winning multiple games in a row. You have Malik Beasley, who I love his personality. You see him just hyping up the guys like Cade, talking to Greg Kelser after the game against the Suns. And you have Malik Beasley running over and just complimenting him. And then the other night against the Kings, same thing to Jaden Ivey. Like, he's recognizing, like, these kids are making, well, these kids, they're not kids. They're the same age as us. But these guys are making big-time plays out there. I need to go hype him up. Like, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we're trying to establish and bring back Detroit basketball and not restore Detroit basketball, which is what Monty and that crew were trying to do. And so the result of our win streak, the result of these clutch games, I really think is obviously fundamentals and all that aside are very important, but I really think it's creating a culture that has led to the streak that we're on and the slew of games that we have pulled out in clutch situations. Because you go back to last year, every single time we had a clutch moment, it just fell out. Like the floor fell out from beneath us. There was nothing we could do. We just choked. And every single time we got put into a tough situation, Cade had nobody to get the ball to. Like, Jaden Ivey was still improving, but that was a Monty Williams Jaden Ivey. And Monty Williams Jaden Ivey was not great. But JB Bickerstaff Jaden Ivey is fantastic. Why? Because he's taken the time to not only establish a culture, but then, okay, if something goes wrong, Cade can't take the shot, who's the next man up? And he just has this list of guys. Okay, he's next, he's next, he's next. And I think just the culture that JB Bickerstaff and Trajan Langdon have created, you got to throw Tom Gores in there because he made the realization, the change that I wanted in Monty, not a good one. I got to do this the right way. And so I really think what this all comes down to with the clutch shots and whatnot, comes down to the fact that we established and created a culture, and that's getting built up right before our eyes. And that's resulting in these clutch plays time and time again because these guys have something to lean back on to. They have this belief system that they can come back to and go like, okay, yeah, we got this. We can keep going. And that's something that Monty never gave them last year. He was like, yep, that's game. Well, see you next time. And that was about it. He kind of gave up. But these guys will not give up, and that's because of the culture that JV Bickerstaff and Langdon were trying to create.
So on the thought of talking about fourth quarter performances and trying to dissect that, I kind of have some stats to prove why the Pistons have kind of turned into this fourth quarter juggernaut, and whether they're down by 15 or 10, that they're still in the game no matter what. Never give up on the Pistons during the fourth quarter. Stat about scoring: the Pistons averaged 26.5 points per game in the fourth quarter. So 26 in the fourth quarter on average. In the fourth quarter, also with field goal efficiency, they averaged 46% conversion, approximately 9.6 out of 20.8 attempts. So they're also shooting nearly 50% from anywhere on the court during the fourth quarter. They also shoot 33.1% from beyond the arc in the fourth quarter. So making about 2.9 out of 8.9 attempts. They also shoot 72.8% from the free throw line during the fourth quarter and get around 10.5 rebounds, contributing to their efforts to close out games in the fourth quarter. So when breaking down these fourth quarter stats, we basically see a story of the Pistons turn it on in the fourth quarter, and any type of game where they are down, they're always in it, and the stats never lie. And it's always kind of great to see what, when you're watching something on the screen, to have it reaffirmed by the statistics that you're looking at. And so this Pistons team is proving over and over again that with good coaching, like you're mentioning with the JB Bickerstaff and without Monty Williams, that this team can succeed in the late stretches of games, because that was our biggest worry ever. Well, last season was, okay, the Pistons are up by 8 in the fourth quarter, heading into the fourth quarter, and they lose it. It was always such a disappointing sight, and I think that's another reason why they went on such a losing streak last season. But Ryan, it really confirms some confidence when you see this Pistons team and the statistics of what they're pulling off in the fourth quarter, and it just kind of affirms what you're seeing.
Yeah, last year it was a third quarter team. That's what we were. We'd be in the first half, but once it got to the third quarter, we would just light it up, and then the fourth quarter we would quite literally just choke and just give up the game. This year, we are competing in every single quarter. It doesn't matter whether we're on a run or not. We are competing every single second of that game. And it's all about the guys that JB throws out there. The one thing that Monty could never do is put together a lineup. He could never do that. He can never have a good rotation of guys. But JB is seemingly doing that. He's having Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham on the floor at all times. And either they're together or they're separate. And those two guys are on the court every single second of that game. Usually, if Cade's out there and Jaden's not out there, Jaden's resting up, then they're switching out and going back and forth like that, or they're on the court at the same time. And we saw with the final seconds, they were on the court at the same time. And in that situation, too, the final seconds of the game last night, it wasn't even that it was Jaden Ivey. Well, it was Jaden Ivey, but those two were on the court together. But then you didn't even have Jalen Duren in the game, or you didn't even have Ron Holland or others. It was a different lineup than what you would typically see out there. And that's because JB's like, okay, I want a three-point shot, or I want a slash and a kick out. That's what he was looking for. And he knew all those guys were capable enough to crash the boards and hit and get a rebound if needed. But he knew, okay, I need to have some three-point shooters out here. I need to have some guys that can get to the rim at any point in time, because we only have 3 seconds left. We need to hit a shot. And you throw out Ivy in that clutch situation. He hits that shot and the foul, gets the free throw, and that's that. But that's the one thing about this year compared to last year that's completely different, is JB knows how to throw together a rotation of guys. He knows who to pinpoint. Okay, I need Jalen Duren here. I need Ron Holland here. I need Tobias out there. Like he knows when to put certain guys in. And it's not like it's just a one-man show, because you got to give props to his assistant coaches too. They know exactly what they're talking about. Jarrett Jack, I love him. Probably my favorite assistant on his staff. But I mean, I never liked Luke Walton back in the day because of the Lakers, but I have a ton of respect for him still. The fact that he's still doing this. But no, the point is, like, this team, the stats don't lie. You quite literally broke down all the stats. They do not lie. We are a much better fourth quarter team this year than we have ever been. Not only fourth quarter, but we are a better every quarter team this year than what we were last year, including the third quarter, even though the third quarter was our best quarter last year. But yeah, so the stats remain to make the statement. We are a far better team this year than we were last year. And I think that's not only due in part because of JB Bickerstaff, the development of our guys, but then the additions of the countless vets that we added in, or even Ron Holland, drafting him. Everybody was not really high on that pick. Everybody was saying, "Oh, Matas Pazulis to the Pistons." Nope, not Matas. We got Ron Holland, and I haven't even heard Matas' name, to be honest. I don't think you have either.
No,
I don't think his name
really
has come up a whole lot. But Ron Holland, I love how scrappy he is. He is not afraid to back down. But yeah, I would say the stats do not lie. We are a far better team this year than last year. Now, who's to say we can go on a run like the Tigers did to end the season last year? And honestly, the reason I bring that up is because it's kind of giving Detroit Tiger energy right now with our team.
Yeah.
Because the Tigers last year, well, not this past season, but the year prior, not great. And a bunch of young, talented guys. They added Scott Harris went in and brought in some vets, and then there was like a season, and then all of a sudden late, boom, they went on a run. And where the Pistons are at right now are they're not bad, but but then I can see them going on a run. Like they're on a run right now, but I can see them ending the season on a run if this team remains. They add in a couple players come trade deadline, whatnot, this and that. But this team is feeling very Detroit Tiger-ish based off this past season.
So we kind of mentioned his name before, but I want to take some time to talk about the man of the hour, Malik Beasley. And he's kind of a big part of why this Detroit Pistons team is finding a lot of success on the offensive end. So I just kind of want to compare his stats from last season with the Milwaukee Bucks to his first 33 games with the Detroit Pistons. And first off, just to mention, he played 79 games last season and started for the Milwaukee Bucks 77 times. He's played 31 games, correction from before, with the Detroit Pistons, and has had 8 starts. So he's proving to be great, especially off the bench also. So last season, he averaged 11.3 points per game. Right now, he's averaging 17. He had 3.7 rebounds per game. He's got 3.1. Not a big difference. He's upped his field goal percentage by 3 points, and his 3-point average is 42. Last year it was 41, so he's up that a little bit too. So his shot has gotten a little bit better, and I wish I could see the abundance of threes he's made compared to last season, because I know he's just one of the top of the league as far as 3-pointers made so far this season. And Malik Beasley was one of those guys where when we got him in trade, in free agency rather, at the time, I was kind of like pretty excited because I knew he was an effort guy. He was just a guy that, like, wherever he goes in the NBA, he just knows how to win and play the right brand of basketball. And the Pistons haven't really had a guy like that since Ben Gordon. And since Ben Gordon's stint with the Detroit Pistons, he's absolutely hammered the Pistons about how bad of an organization they are. And then that just to show how great Malik Beasley, because he comes in and just gives a feel to the culture that this Pistons organization and never has. And Ben Gordon definitely didn't do that. And so it's just kind of cool to see Malik Beasley come in and make an immediate impact and add 6 points to his average, which is kind of unheard of, and unless you're a rookie going into the sophomore season and have a big jump. But adding 6 points to season averages is pretty impressive, especially for a shooting guard who's kind of trying to find his way on a new team. Usually when a person ups his points like Malik Beasley has, it's with their second or third season with that respective team, not on a new team like what Malik Beasley is doing. I'm very impressed with Malik Beasley and everything he's kind of doing right now. Ryan, what are some of your thoughts? I know we both are big Malik Beasley fans, but as far as what you're liking from him and maybe his 3-point shot or what, just let me know some of your thoughts.
Yeah, so Malik Beasley, believe it or not, obviously you mentioned he started last year with the Bucks. Off the bench is averaging 28 minutes a game, which is crazy. But that's fourth. That's not even the most. Obviously, Cade's the most at 36, Tobias at 31, Ivy at 30, and then Beasley at 28 with Tim Hardaway Jr. following shortly at 27. Jalen Duren at 25. That's kind of crazy to me. But anyways, you have him at 28 minutes a game on average. He's giving you 16, near pretty much 17 points a game, which upped his average. What else? Well, that's third highest average on the team in terms of points per game. He has probably around, he's not towards the top. He's around like 7 or 8 in terms of rebounds a game. No shock there when you have Jalen Duren and all those others. But the fact that he made such a big jump in his points per game, considering the fact that he's coming off the bench right now, and yes, the second rotation guys in the NBA, there's some teams where you have a deep roster with the Denver Nuggets, with the Dallas Mavericks, with the Lakers, etc. You have these deeper teams that you can go like, okay, these are not like typical second rotation players. A lot of these guys would start on other teams in the league. But what Malik Beasley is doing against a lot of second rotation teams, or second rotation players rather, is just he's doing his thing. It's like it doesn't even matter if he's going up against the first unit, second unit, whatsoever. It doesn't matter. He is going out there and putting on a show. Absolute clinic. He is quite literally just hitting these shots that you're going like, there's no way he's going to hit that. And you're like, oh, okay, he hit that. And then you go down and he's like, yep, he's going to hit that because it's wide open. You're not going to miss that. It's Malik Beasley. And then he hits it, but you're like, all right. But then he hits a crossover, goes between the legs, hits the fadeaway 3, and I'm like, there's no way that's going in. And then he hits it. I'm like, okay, cool.
Exactly.
So like every single time he has the ball in his hands, I feel like something good is going to happen. And when's the last person we have that to or explain that with about anyone? And that's the cool thing to me, because obviously you could say Cade, good things could happen with the ball in his hands. But outside of Cade, on this team, looking down the list, I don't know if there's a guy where I'm like, oh, great things are going to happen if the ball is in his hands. Like Tobias Harris, it's like a 50-50. Jalen Duren is like a 50-50. Jaden Ivey is like not even a 50. It'd be a little bit higher than a 50-50. But like the point remains, like there's nobody that you go down the list of players on this team that you're going like, wow, anytime they touch the ball, something good is going to happen. But anytime that Malik Beasley touches the ball, something great is going to happen. So he's probably been my favorite Piston to watch this year, just because of the energy he brings, the character he brings. His 3-point shot is just absurd, like 42% from 3. Are you kidding me right now? Like that's just crazy. So the point remains, Malik Beasley, outside of Cade Cunningham, might be the star of the show right now. And obviously, Jaden Ivey just had the clutch 4-point play, and we win the game because of him. But Malik Beasley, a lot of that game against the Kings came down to Malik Beasley having the ball in his hands and doing good things. So as we can say, who's the second fiddle to Cade Cunningham being probably Jaden Ivey, I think it's actually Malik Beasley, and he is putting on a clinic, and I've absolutely loved to see it.
Make sure to comment below your thoughts on Malik Beasley's play with the Detroit Pistons so far this season. As far as getting back to the topic, are the Detroit Pistons legit? I tend to lean on the Detroit Pistons being legit. Biggest reason is, I think whether the Pistons are on the road going into the Denver Nuggets or going to the Lakers, I think they always have a chance to win against most teams, and give them a run for their money. And that's how I kind of decide whether a team's legit or not. Ryan, what are some of your thoughts on, as we close today's episode, on whether the Pistons are legit or not?
So they are sitting at ninth right now in the East, which isn't bad. You look back at maybe a week ago now, they were sitting at 10. So they've moved up a little bit. I mean, one spot, but still, I'll take that. But you look at the play-in teams, or what would be if the season ended right now. Atlanta Hawks at 7, at 16 and 15. Indiana at 8 with 15 and 16. Oh, yeah, I did read that right. Okay. Us at 9 with 14 and 17. Bulls at 10 at 13 and 18. Brooklyn hovering on the outside with 12 and 18. Philly slowly but surely on the come up with 11 and 17. And then you look at Miami, who is at 6 right now at 15 and 13. At all. You could also look at the Bucks. I'm going down a tangent right now, but you could look at the Bucks at 5, who are 16 and 13. The point remains with 5 through 10 right now. I think we can beat every single one of those teams. We can beat the Bucks, we can beat the Heat, we can beat the Hawks, we can beat the Pacers, we can beat the Bulls, we can beat the Nets and the 76ers. I think we can beat every single one of those teams. Now, the 76ers have not been completely healthy. So that's a big question mark still. Obviously, we've taken out Kevin Durant and the Suns, and they have Bradley Beal, they have Devin Booker, they have Yusuf Nurkic, they have a slew of guys there. We beat them. Then you look at the Kings, the Aaron Fox. Sabonis did not play, which I truly do believe if Sabonis would have played last night, I think it would have been a different outcome. It probably would have been much closer than what it. See, I say it much closer, but we did win by a point. But I think it would have actually been much closer all game long than what it ended up being. And instead of us being down 19 and coming back, I think it would have been a much harder comeback with Sabonis in that lineup. But the point remains, we beat the Kings. Then you have the Lakers. We took out LeBron and Anthony Davis. So, like, those are top Western Conference teams. Those Western Conference teams, along with the teams that I mentioned before that we could beat, those Western Conference teams could beat those teams as well. So the fact is, we're playing at a high level right now. If we can continue on our streak, knock out the Nuggets too, add more Infinity Stones to this gauntlet, I think I think we're in a good position. I think we may be legit. We're not legit yet, but we may be legit. And when I say legit, we're legit on making the playoffs. Now, are we legit on winning the championship? No, we are not. We're nowhere close to being championship level. And maybe I want to be wrong, but legit enough to make the playoffs? Absolutely.
That will do it for episode number 7 of season 3. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys in episode 8. Peace.